That, do you know what is amazing? So have you seen this petition here for
Yes,
the
I
general
have.
election?
Complete waste of time.
Well, and I know it is, but come on, don't.
But what annoys me is it's a distraction. What really needs to happen is actual criticism, and all these other opposition parties, including Reform and the Conservatives and everybody, start offering me an alternative and not tell me everything is terrible. What are you really going to do to fix all these problems that you're very good at pointing out? This is what annoys me so much, is that this stuff becomes the distraction when what we should demand is, well, what are you going to do different? At general elections, we never do this. It's always, oh, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And people go, OK. And when we go, well, how and why? What's the long-term plan
What
here?
What is the plan?
We never get past this. I hate to use this phrase, but it's a good one. This sticking plaster politics. It's all Keir Starmer is, but the public is the same, and we have to demand better.
We do have to demand better, but what I would say about it, everyone's having a bit of fun with this petition. We are Brits, we like fun, and we're not really the sort of people to sort of actively complain like Americans do to the waiter. Oh, I don't like my... We kind of write angry letters. That's as far as we go, you know, sort of green ink on the back of one of those little postcards. And this is just the most British thing. A petition for a general election. It's just so British. I love it.
I mean,
we're not allowed to go out on the streets and protest, are we? Because we know what happens if you try that.
That's not a good idea. But we're pretty sure we have these all the time, these big petitions. But I think what's really important about this one is the speed to which it's got to such a high number.
Right.
But also, it's the fact that it's like nationwide, and it's across so many different issues, and it just shows the sheer disconnect.
So early. Because despite the sort of continuous dumpster fire that was the Conservative government, or lack of it for most of the time, in recent years, I don't remember there being general election, and they were changing Prime Minister every 5 seconds, faction fighting. This is quite extraordinary. We're now at 518,530 signatures, so we've gone over the 500,000 mark. I think about 100,000 at least have been added in the last hour alone. My bet was by 1 o'clock. We've all put bets on where it's going to be. I think I said 732,000 at 1 o'clock.
What is it at the moment?
580. Oh, no, it's gone up. 519,000. It's going like this.
I don't know. I think by 1 o'clock, about 6:50 maybe.
You're on 6:50.
Yeah,
right, taking
I
note
reckon
of that,
it'll
guys.
slow down.
But do you know? I think we should thank you. Tech Up Dave's got a piece of paper.
Oh, thanks,
what's
Dave.
riding on this, by the way? As we're all going to drink cider after this, is it whoever?
No, we're not playing that game.
Whoever wins gets free drinks for the whole afternoon. Yeah?
Could you imagine?
The one who's furthest out has to buy the round. OK, come on, 732,000. Do me good. But the thing is, you make a very good point here, which is... it is a bit of fun.
Yeah.
It will hold a mirror up. You know, I think one thing... has Elon Musk retweeted this or something? Is this why it's going tonto? He's going to be on it at some point.
I have a feeling,
what time is it in America?
I have a feeling if it's not him, it's one of his elves. Or
Someone,
whatever. Somebody
so at some point, Musk is going to be on this, and there's all hell's going to break loose. But it's 520,000 now. But this is the thing. It does hold a mirror up to the Labour Party.
Yeah.
It does make them realise that, you know, teething problems, perhaps,
Absolute
but actually, to me, it seems like a government that is so out of step with its people, but worryingly intransigent.
That's the thing. They'll look at this and they'll ignore it. Like, let's look at the migrant crisis as a perfect example. Does anybody remember who Yvette Cooper is? Where has she been? On one of the biggest issues that faces this country, she is nowhere. The left, and as a general rule, will ignore a crisis if they can't fix it by blaming somebody.
Right.
This is the reality of it. So they'll say, oh, this, I bet you any money this will be Russian hackers, Chinese influence, or it'll be far-right agitators or something like that, and they will try to box it off.
Fictional far-right people.
And they'll say, oh, well, not everybody who signed it is in the United Kingdom. But what the petition, I think, the point you make is right, that it shows a country that is absolutely exasperated and shocked and just angry at the government, and they won't take that bit, they'll focus on the other bit. Because look at the Southport incident. That's a prime example. This became about far-right thugs and not radical Islamism in the heart of the UK.
So, exactly.
That's the reality of it.
So
that's what they'll do.
I have a theory here. Now, I have been enjoying watching Elon Musk especially, but everybody on the right wing in America, I mean, Joe Rogan can't leave us alone either.
I know, yes.
Talking about the fact that we've become a mad fascistic state, throwing people into prison for social media posts. Elon Musk has just got some sort of a detectorist for these headlines now.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's caught a smelly fish and the police come and say, whoa! And America's really having fun watching this because, of course, they've got the First Amendment and they love us like cousins. But they also kind of, in the same way we look across the pond and kind of see what's coming on the horizon to us, because let's be fair, all the identitarianism, the woke stuff, that all came from America.
Yeah.
They kind of look to us as their makers, really, as their sort of long-lost cousins who, sort of were part and parcel of being, setting up America. And like to sort of look at little old Britain, its funny, curious, quaint cousin, and it very similar to them, but being able to hold us up right now as the warning sign of what happens when all of this identitarian woke stuff goes on steroids.
How did the UK become the canary in the coal mine?
Yeah.
Well, how did that happen? Well, like you said, what I do think it is for a long time we were seen as the steady stability. Things kind of ticked over in a predictable fashion. We weren't radical. We didn't really do anything. And then I think in the last 20 years, we just went mental on every single front, economically, socially, politically. And I think this is why the US has become fascinated with us, is because we have taken everything bad from America and imported it here.
Yeah.
Like every single thing.
All the rubbish stuff.
But one thing that's annoyed me more is that people in the UK have tried to use the US as some kind of you can sweep it across the UK and it perfectly applies here.
Right,
and
exactly.
it doesn't.
All the sort of racism stuff, the BLM, George Floyd's nothing to do with us. We didn't have segregation in this country. No. It's a different world. Now, I've got a quick theory before we go on to geopolitics. Yeah. I want to run my quick theory past you, and I'm going to run it past Big Phil, who's on next, because he loves wearing a tinfoil hat. Now, I was speaking to Elon's dad the other day. We were having a little chat, on WhatsApp. And Elon's dad, he's a card, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Love him. But he was saying Starmer will be gone by February.
Huh.
And I was like, how? And he's like, yeah, watch this space. And then something, and I was like, February, what does he mean? What is this cryptic calculation? But I did think of something. I don't think it's necessarily going to make Starmer gone, but I did think of a possibility. Why February? Now, what I've realised is because it's Peter Bond's birthday, and the best present we could get him this year, next year, would be no. But what I did figure is why February. Two big things happen in January. One, inauguration of Donald Trump. That means essentially at this point, Elon Musk is protected by the might of the Trump administration. So if the Labour Party come after X, if the EU, Thierry Breton, that information commissioner, it's a very sort of socialist title, isn't it? Decides to write an angry letter. Trump will be in a position to go, tariffs, or whatever it may be, whatever leverage, whether it's sort of, geopolitics, he will have leverage to protect Elon and Elon's fights for free speech. So that's one thing. So you think, what sort of truth bombs? Whereas Hunter Biden's laptop was hidden in social media by the former princes of Silicon Valley, Elon Musk not doing that. So I think, what sort of truth bombs might suddenly come out when Elon's got that protection? Number one. Number two, of course, talking about truth bombs, is we're going to have the Southport trial.
True.
Now, I wonder if they're going to try and make sure that there's reporting restrictions on this. They will say the guy was a minor at the time of the offences, the victims are minors, therefore. But that trial's got to happen. And it would be interesting to see what that scares up and how much the government are on the line for that. So there's my theories for February.
I don't see it. Because, again, and I heard you this morning, one thing I think you're right on is it is Keir Starmer that could call a general election, and it is the Labour Party that will remove him. What you've got to hope for is that backbenchers who have 500-600 majority that rather like their new jobs want to keep them. And they will do everything in their power to get rid of them. The reality is Keir Starmer isn't going anywhere because we have a parliamentary system. You can't just
He doesn't want to go anywhere.
He doesn't want
to go. They keep talking about 50-year plans. I'm like, this is a bit harrowing.
Delusion and the left go hand in hand, let's be real on that one. But I do think that we do have to get back to how our system actually works. And this, I don't mind Americans butting in over here, but we're not that system. We're not that culture. In the same way, I do get annoyed when people start preaching about certain bits of American politics from a British perspective. It was like, it's not the same thing. But it is all about the backbenchers and the Keir Starmer's ability to control his own party. This is what it's all about. When you have a massive majority, it's actually more difficult because you've got to have people everywhere. You've got to have total control of it, because a small group can become a big group very fast. If it was like Theresa May, for example, she knew the rebels. They were a small group, and you could confine them. That was the advantage of actually having.
Do you think there are many rebels in the party?
Not yet. But from what I know from around Westminster, there has been murmurings and there has been a lot of discomfort about being able to sell the budget, and it is mistake after mistake. And I do think this winter fuel allowance is the big one. People keep looking at the farmers, and I think you talked about it earlier, and we might get onto it later, but this one, I think, is the flashy one, but it is the human stories behind the winter fuel one. Like, say, for example, I was here on Friday. We had the lady that rang in the other day on Peter Cardwell's show. Was her name Teresa? You know, and the outpouring of support for her and just absolute anger. This old lady sitting in a room who couldn't afford to turn the heating on in Arctic temperatures. Those stories resonate with the British public 10 times more than, you know, the complexities of why farming matters. And I think it is a winter fuel allowance we keep our eye on. I really do think that. You
could well be right about that. And the small and medium-sized enterprises, you know, all the focus on the farmers, but basically all small businesses or medium-sized businesses are
those little mom and pop
screwed by
stores
Rachel
that
Reeves.
People like shopping in.